Hello fam, welcome back to Irish Agility, a platform where we simplify Agile, a platform where we strive to break down Agile related concepts to the granular level. So today I'm excited to walk you through another important metric, another important concept in Scrum, a key metric we refer to as velocity. Why is velocity important? Why is it very crucial for an Agile team, a Scrum team, a software development team to actually track their velocity over time? It is very important, so I'll be walking you through why should we track our velocity as an Agile team. So fam, if you're new to this channel, please join the family by subscribing. Turn your notification bell on so that next time I'm dropping a similar content like this, you are automatically notified. So why do we measure velocity as a Scrum team? Let's dive straight into our discussion of today. Before we look at the importance of velocity, why we should track our velocity as an Agile team, right? I want us to understand what velocity means in the first place. Velocity simply measures the amount of work that a Scrum team, that an Agile team can tackle in a particular sprint by totaling the amount of story points completed in a given sprint. Why is it very important? How do we even arrive at a team's velocity in the first place? There is something that is very important to take note of. Velocity and capacity are very related. We plan our load, we plan our velocity based on what? Based on our capacity. I'm gonna make a separate video on how to estimate a team's capacity, right? But for the sake of this discussion, most of the time, most Scrum teams will come together, right? When they have prioritized the work that they will be picking up in a given sprint, what they do is, during estimation or while estimating, they will go among those set of stories. They will pick the smallest story that can take probably 1 day for the code to be written and 1 day to test, and they call it a 1. Then they will estimate the remaining stories in the backlog relatively to what? That one story, right? Remember, we are talking about what? Scrum is story pointing is all about the complexity involved, right? The uncertainty involved. So those are some of the considerations that teams will take to actually estimate a given story. So when that is done, based on their capacity, they will come up with what? Their velocity for what? A given sprint. But now, there is what we call planned velocity and actual velocity. So let's look at the graph in front of us, right? I actually used a spreadsheet to come out with this graph. If you look on the x-axis, we have the different sprints for this team. If you look at the y-axis, you have your story points. In sprint 1, this team, their planned velocity, what they planned to deliver was 40 story points. They were able to deliver 35, which is very good for a Scrum team, fam. In the second sprint, they planned to deliver 40. They were able to complete 40, which means they met their deliverables, which is absolutely good, very good. In sprint 3, they planned to deliver 40. They delivered 40. In sprint 4, they plan to deliver 43. They were able to deliver 40. In sprint 5, they plan to deliver 43 and they delivered 43. In sprint 6, they planned 45, they delivered 45. If you look at the average velocity for these 6 sprints, right, which is just an addition of what this team completed in all these 6 sprints, I'm referring to the orange bars, right? The orange bars are the actual velocity. So when you sum up the actual velocity for the 6 sprints, you have an average velocity of what? 40.4 story points. So that this brings us to what? The importance of velocity. So before we look at that, I want to say this team is a very good team, right? So why is velocity important? Why should this team even bother to track their velocity? Point number 1, It is a very powerful predictability tool. Remember, Scrum is founded on what? Empiricism. We actually make decisions based on what we know. We make decisions based on data. There is no way you can go wrong with decisions that is driven by what? By empirical data. So that said, looking at this team, knowing well that their average velocity is anywhere around 40.4 story points, it means in sprint 7 this team can plan their work around their average velocity, around this number. Number 2, velocity can be used in what? Release planning. It is very crucial when doing release planning. What is release planning? When business is deciding on key release milestones. When do we want to release a particular feature? When do we want to make a particular feature available for end users? When do we want to ship a particular feature, deploy a particular feature to production, right? When those discussions are ongoing, it is very important to take into consideration a team's velocity. In SAFe, it is very important to take into consideration the train's velocity to be able to make those decisions when a given feature, when a set of features can be deployed to the end users. So velocity is what? A very crucial planning tool when release planning is concerned, right? Number 3, I said velocity is very crucial for PI planning. What is PI planning? If you're familiar with SAFe, if you've worked in a SAFe environment, PI planning is that 2 to 3 days event where the entire Agile release train come together to plan the set of what features that they will deliver for the next 8 weeks, for the next 10 weeks, for the next 12 weeks, which is what? Their program increment. So velocity is very important. Why? Because business will use the different teams within the train, their velocity to gauge what features will be assigned to those teams, right? So we now see another importance of velocity. And last but not the least, velocity can be used to gauge a team's performance when used in the right context. What do I say when used in the right context? When we are talking of mature teams that have actually matured over time, right? We can use velocity to actually gauge their productivity, to actually gauge their performance. But for a team that is just getting started in Scrum, in Agile, it will be a very big mistake to actually gauge their performance using velocity. Why? Because over time, it has been proven that a team's velocity will naturally grow over time, keeping everything constant, provided they are working in what? In a sustainable pace, as one of the fundamental principles of Agile clearly mentions. Permit your teams to work in a sustainable pace. So if they are working in a sustainable pace, considering what their capacity, then their velocity will automatically grow over time. It will gradually grow over time. But if you pressure your teams to overcommit, if you force your teams to increase their velocity, at the end of the day, they are the ones doing those estimations. They can make up those numbers to look good. They can fake those numbers to look good. It makes no sense to have good numbers, right, in the name of velocity, when at the end of the day we have a wacky application, or when at the end of the day we have a software that is being characterized with what? Technical debt, right? So far, it's not good to use velocity as a primary performance tool, right? So to summarize this discussion, right, velocity is simply the amount of work that a team can tackle in a particular sprint, taking into consideration the total number of story points they completed in that particular sprint. Velocity is very important to predict the amount of work that a team can take in future sprints. Velocity is very crucial for release planning. Velocity is also very crucial during PI planning in SAFe. And last but not the least, for teams that are mature, velocity is very good. You can use velocity to gauge their performance, and you can challenge those teams to do what? To increase their velocity, right? Keeping everything constant. right? So fam, we've come to the end of this session. If you've not watched our content on burn down chart, I encourage you to do so because it's another important metric in Scrum. If you're looking for a SAFe certification, feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you master the SAFe framework. And also, if you're a Scrum Master just looking for someone that can help you, improve on your skills, to help you better support your teams, feel free to reach out. We'll be able to help you get to that level where you are helping your teams deliver value to the end users. And also, if you're just looking for somebody to help you go through your resume, feel free to reach out to me, fam. I'll be more than willing to help you walk you through your resume. So fam, if you found this content interesting, please like this content, share this content to bless someone, and last but not the least, turn your notification bell so that next time I'm dropping another similar content like this, you are automatically notified. Peace.